Funny thing about the NFL, numbers don't always tell the story. Lamar Jackson racks up wins like loose change in the regular season. Yet the postseason turns immortal. Patrick Mahomes just walked off the biggest stage with a bruised ego. The Saints don't even have a quarterback. 32 franchises, 32 stories. Some chasing rings, others tripping over their own shoelaces. Some situations are downright embarrassing. 32. New Orleans Saints. After going 5-12, if confusion could suit up, it would be the Saints' quarterback room. Derek Carr's gone. New coach Kellen Moore inherits Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler, and Tyler Shaw. None has won an NFL start. Alvin Kamara hitting 30 is still the heartbeat, and Chris Olave's talent is wasted until someone can throw straight. They added Chase Young and Brandon Cooks, but they'll likely lose every game by 3 touchdowns. 31. Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young got benched as a rookie, like your date leaving prom with someone else. He fought back late last year, and there's optimism under Dave Canales. They added Tairoa McMillan to stretch defenses and hope Xavier Leggett stops dropping passes. The defense allowed the most points in NFL history. Their best defender, Derek Brown, played only 1 game. The schedule's soft, the division's weak. 8 wins? Maybe. 9 might mean playoffs. 30. Cleveland Browns. After going 3-14, quarterback roulette again. Deshaun Watson stuck on the PUP list. Joe Flacco somehow still cashing checks. Kenny Pickett's already limping. Rookies Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are waiting their turn. Sanders brings the Coach Prime spotlight whether the Browns want it or not. Nick Chubb's gone to Houston, but they drafted Mason Graham 5th overall and Myles Garrett's still destroying people. This is still the Browns. Jim Brown could rise from the grave, and they'd still finish 7-10. 29. Tennessee Titans. Not rebuilding, more like fixing the house while you're still living in it. After going 3-14, Brian Callahan and GM Mike Borgonzi are trying to steer the ship, and top pick Cam Ward inherits the job after Will Levis went down. They upgraded the line with Dan Moore Jr. because nothing kills a rookie faster than a bad O-line. The defense ranked 30th in points allowed. Ward? Big arm. But big arms have burned teams before. Call a potential wrapped in drywall dust. 28. New York Jets. Another offseason, another Jets experiment. Aaron Glenn and GM Darren Moogie threw $40 million at Justin Fields. It could be genius or pure lunacy. They drafted Armin Membu 7th overall to protect him, while Tyrod Taylor's still hanging around and Adrian Martinez wants his UFL magic to carry over. They added Tyler Johnson and Josh Reynolds, filled some defensive gaps, and look, respectable, but come on, it's the Jets. 14 seasons without the playoffs, and they could sign Mahomes and still finish 6-11 with tabloid drama. 27. New York Giants. 3 wins last year. Somehow, they might be worse. Russell Wilson's under center at 35 years old, now on his 3rd team since Seattle. Jameis Winston's the backup. Rookie Jackson darts in the pipeline. That's chaos disguised as depth. They drafted Abdul Carter 3rd overall to rush the passer. Their schedule's the hardest in the league, and Malik Neighbors is electric at wideout. But what good is that if passes are sailing 5 yards out of bounds? Brian Dable's coaching for his life. This could spiral quickly. 26. Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll at 73 is back on the sidelines with Chip Kelly running the offense. Geno Smith's his quarterback. They drafted Ashton Genty 6th overall to spark the run game, and Brock Bowers just set rookie records at tight end. Max Crosby keeps breaking through blockers when healthy. They already botched the Christian Wilkins signing. $110 million, played 5 games, injury dispute, released.
No subsequent move to replace him. I mean, remember, he was on the PUP list to begin with anyway, so he wasn't really available to the Raiders as it is.
Classic Raiders. On paper, they could be competitive. Problem is, they live in the AFC West. Kansas City, Denver, and the Chargers are all in the way. 25. New England Patriots. For the first time in years, there's a pulse. Drake May's got real talent and showed flashes even with no protection last year. Mike Vrabel's arrival brings confidence. Free agency was wild, plugging holes everywhere, including receiver Stephon Diggs, who's coming off a serious injury, and Milton Williams getting $100 million on defense. They drafted Will Campbell 4th overall at left tackle. Their schedule? 3rd easiest in the league. They could double their wins from 4 to 8. 24, Indianapolis Colts. After going 8-9, Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson's career is at the fork in the road. 15 games in 2 years, 59% as a rookie, crashed to 47% last season. Daniel Jones, yes, that Daniel Jones, was brought in for competition, which tells you a lot about their faith. The physical gifts? Obvious. The accuracy? Still missing. And in a defense that ranked 28th in yards allowed and led the league with 157 missed tackles, and you've got problems everywhere. If he can't beat Jones outright, it might be curtains. Fans are restless. 23, Miami Dolphins. Every conversation starts with Tua's head. Not his arm, not his stats, his head. The concussions loom over this franchise like storm clouds that won't move. When he's upright, the offense should be fireworks with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But both had disappointing seasons last year. After going 8-9, they traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick and added Matthew Judon and Kenneth Grant. McDaniel's system only hums if Tua's alive and firing darts. They're like a Ferrari with bald tires. Beautiful fast, and one wrong move from the tow yard. The AFC East is a minefield, and fans are tired of the if healthy conversation. 22, Jacksonville Jaguars. After going 4-13, new coach Liam Cohen and GM James Gladstone traded up to number 2 for Travis Hunter, playing both ways as a rookie. Sounds cool in theory until you remember grown men are trying to break you in half every snap. He's a once-in-a-generational talent, but 70 plays a game wears you out. Trevor Lawrence? He's supposed to be the golden boy, but 2024 was a letdown. The organizational overhaul gives them toys everywhere, but the Jags have a way of fumbling opportunity. AFC South isn't exactly the 85 Bears. 9 wins could take it. Yet somehow this feels like a team destined to trip over its own shoelaces. 21, Atlanta Falcons. After the $180 million Kirk Cousins experiment crashed, Michael Penix Jr. finally gets the wheel. The arm? A bazooka. The accuracy? Well, let's just say it depends on the throw. He's got Drake London, Kyle Pitts, who occasionally remembers he's supposed to dominate, and Bijan Robinson coming off strong seasons. They brought in Leonard Floyd and used 2 first-round picks on Jalen Walker and James Pierce to fix the pass rush. But the defense still feels like it's finding its identity. Second-year quarterbacks usually stumble, but Falcons fans are cautiously optimistic because what's the alternative? Despair? 20, Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers in black and gold feels weird, right? He's 41, calling it a farewell tour again, and dragging his quirks along with him. But hey, the arm's still dangerous. Arthur Smith's running the offense. They flipped Minkah Fitzpatrick to Miami for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, signed Darius Slay, and locked up TJ Watt. DK Metcalf gives Rodgers a deep ball option he hasn't had in years. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season, but he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. This ends one of 2 ways. A magical playoff ride where Rodgers shocks us all, or he retires in November after a bad hit. 19, Arizona Cardinals. All eyes are on Marvin Harrison Jr. The kid's got the bloodline, the talent, the aura. He's supposed to change everything. Kyler Murray, when locked in, can be electric, but consistency's never been his best friend. They signed Josh Sweat for $76 million and invested heavily in defense. But the NFC West is brutal. Harrison's presence should help, but one receiver doesn't flip a franchise overnight. Expect games where they explode for 35 and others where they can't scrape together 14. 18, Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones's carnival keeps spinning. Dak Prescott's good, not great. The roster's got stars, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and they traded for George Pickens to add firepower, but it's the same old cycle. They'll win 9 or 10, maybe even look sharp in October. Then January arrives, and you know how this movie ends. First round exit. Jerry at the podium promising they're so close. Meanwhile, Washington's rising, Philly's stacked, and the NFC East isn't forgiving. 17. Seattle Seahawks. No playoff wins in ages, but hope's alive thanks to Mike Macdonald's defense. They kept opponents in check last year, top 10 points allowed, and most of that unit's back. They traded DK Metcalf and released Tyler Lockett, but signed Cooper Kupp to anchor the receiving core while Sam Darnold tries his latest comeback tour. The NFC West chews up teams for breakfast, but Seattle's not tapping out. They're retooling through a transitional year, leaning on that defense. It won't be flashy, but with a few lucky bounces, they could sneak into January. 16. Houston Texans. CJ Stroud went from rookie sensation to shell shock thanks to an offensive line that got worse. They traded away Laramie Tunsil and lost both guards. Still, they won the division and knocked off the Chargers in the playoffs. Not bad for a step-back year. They lost Stephon Diggs but signed Nick Chubb to back up Joe Mixon. And Nico Collins is a real number one. The defense carried them with 49 sacks and Derek Stingley's $90 million deal. The question is Stroud. Does he rebound, or did last year plant seeds of doubt? He's too good to flop entirely, but regression hits young QBs hard sometimes. 15. Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson didn't just cost the Bears a fortune to pry him out of Detroit, he inherited the unenviable task of fixing Caleb Williams. Last year, rookie Hayes looked lost half the time, like he was holding the playbook upside down. This offseason, they drafted Colston Loveland, lost Keenan Allen but added weapons, and completely overhauled the line with Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. Montez Sweat and Jalen Johnson make the defense respectable. The NFC North is a jungle now. Detroit swaggering, Green Bay sharp, Minnesota sneaky. Still, Johnson's got receipts from turning Jared Goff into an MVP candidate. Bears fans just need the curse to lift for once. 14. Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's upright again, and suddenly the entire AFC gets nervous. Last season, he threw for a league-leading 4,918 yards and 43 touchdowns, while Chase caught a league-high 127 passes for 1,708 yards. They spent big to keep the trio together. Burrow, Chase, and Higgins all locked up. Yet, still went 9-8 and missed the playoffs. The problem? Always the defense, and it could be worse this year. Trey Hendrickson's contract situation is messy, and new DC Al Golden might lose his best pass rusher. AFC North is mean, Baltimore's stacked, Pittsburgh's scrappy, but Cincinnati has the highest ceiling of the defense's even average. 13. San Francisco 49ers. From 12 wins to 6, but this isn't just about injuries anymore. They traded Deebo Samuel to Washington, and Brandon Ayuk's missing more games with a torn ACL and MCL. Why? They saved money to pay Brock Purdy, letting key players walk on both sides. Leonard Floyd, Javon Hargrave, Dre Greenlaw all gone. Now they're scrambling, trading for Sky Moore in late August just to fill holes. Easiest schedule in the NFL helps, and Shanahan still calls plays like a mad scientist. But this roster is talent depleted, not injury recovering. 12. Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford's creeping into that "are we sure he can still do this" age, but the arm hasn't fully betrayed him yet. They swapped Cooper Kupp for Devontae Adams, trading steady for explosive. McVay's still on the headset, and Jared Verse is emerging as a legitimate pass rusher. Problem is, left tackle Alaric Jackson's out with blood clots, and their defense still has major issues. First place schedule means no breathing room. If Stafford stays upright, they can hang 30 on anyone. If he doesn't, the rebuild hammer is waiting. 11. Denver Broncos. Bo Nix shocked the skeptics. Rookie quarterback, steady hand, and Sean Payton shaping the offense around him. Year 2 should be better. The defense could be the best in football with Pat Surtain II patrolling. Plus, they added Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. They slipped into the playoffs last year and now look like they belong. Kansas City's still the mountain, but Denver isn't scared. Nix doesn't have to be superhuman, just good enough for the defense to do its job. This feels like a team stepping from maybe good into, oh no, they're legit. 10. Los Angeles Chargers. Jim Harbaugh doesn't do rebuilds. He reloads, growls at the media, and wins. Last year, they went 11-5 with duct tape at wide receiver. Now, they added Najee Harris and Mike Williams. More depth. Justin Herbert in his prime, and a coach who won't let talent rot. Problem. Left tackle Rashawn Slater's gone for the year with a knee injury, and they lost Joey Bosa on defense too. Protecting Herbert just went from solid to, are we sure he'll survive? AFC West is brutal, but Harbaugh teams don't beat themselves. They'll grind out close games. 9. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's renaissance is one of those NFL stories you almost don't believe until you watch it happen. Career highs across the board, smiling ear to ear like a guy who finally found his home. Problem is, Liam Cohen, the coordinator who helped engineer that revival, bolted for Jacksonville. Meanwhile, Chris Goodwin won't be back until October after that ankle injury, so they drafted Emeka Egbuka out of necessity. They added Hasten Reddick to rush the passer, and Todd Bowles has the defense hitting people in the mouth. The NFC South? Weak sauce. 10 wins probably takes it. 8. Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love silenced the doubters in 2024. He's the real deal, and now Green Bay's building the castle around him. Problem was, Christian Watson's ACL tear in December killed their playoff momentum. No deep speed, limited offense. So they drafted Matthew Golden in the first round to stretch the field again. Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Josh Jacobs filling that hole nicely after replacing Aaron Jones. They lost Jair Alexander to Baltimore, but Jeff Hafley's defense is quietly improving. The NFC North is stacked, but Love's arm talent keeps them in every game. This isn't a maybe next year roster. They're ready right now. 7. Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy's time starts now. Rookie season wasted on the sideline after a knee injury, watching Sam Darnold win 14 games like it was scripted by Hollywood. Now he inherits a dream situation. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Weapons everywhere. They upgraded the line with Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, and first-rounder Donovan Jackson. Plus, Christian Darrisaw's back healthy. The defense was 5th in points allowed and added Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Kevin O'Connell runs a QB-friendly system, and McCarthy doesn't need to be flawless, just competent. 6. Washington Commanders. Nobody saw this coming. From 4-13 to the NFC Championship in 1 year. Jaden Daniels walked in, flipped the culture, and dragged Washington into the spotlight. He plays like he's been here 5 years already. They got dismantled by Philly in the title game, so they doubled down. Traded for Deebo Samuel to pair with Terry McLaurin and Laramie Tunsil to protect Daniels' blind side. Added Von Miller for pass rush depth too. Dan Quinn's defense is still nasty, and the roster's deeper after free agency. The NFC East is tough, but Washington doesn't look like a fluke. They look like they belong. 5. Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's clock is ticking loud now. The Bills have been excellent, sometimes dominant for half a decade, and have nothing to show for it but broken hearts. The front office knows the window's closing, so they went nuclear on defense to finally beat Kansas City. 6 new defensive linemen, including Joey Bosa. Joshua Palmer adds another weapon for Allen. Stat heads say they've got a 65% chance to win the division. Best in the league. That's great, but Bills Mafia doesn't care about percentages. They care about rings. This roster is built to win now, specifically built to dethrone the Chiefs. 4. Detroit Lions. 15 wins last year. Divisional round flop. Ouch. Losing both coordinators hurts. Ben Johnson to Chicago, Aaron Glenn to the Jets. But Dan Campbell's still prowling the sideline like a maniac, and the roster's loaded. Jared Goff keeps thriving when protected. Amon-Ra St. Brown never stops getting open, and the defense is young and on the rise. Plus, Aiden Hutchinson's back from injury after being on pace for 25 sacks. The NFC North isn't handing them anything with Green Bay and Minnesota climbing, but Detroit is still the team to beat until proven otherwise. 3. Kansas City Chiefs. The Super Bowl blowout stung. Mahomes doesn't forget, and neither does Andy Reid. Rashee Rice might miss time with suspension. Hollywood Brown's made of glass, but as long as Mahomes and Reed are together, this team hums. Problem is, they traded Joe Thuney to Chicago and drafted Josh Simmons in the first round. But he's coming off a torn patella tendon. The offense sputtered more than expected, but the defense was quietly elite last year, covering up the issues. They're not as invincible as the early dynasty years, but betting against Mahomes is basically burning money. 2. Philadelphia Eagles. The champs. They punked the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and strutted off with everyone gunning for them. Continuity is ridiculous. 10 to 11 offensive starters back, Jalen Hurts entering his prime, Saquon Barkley coming off one of the best running back seasons in NFL history, nearly broke the single-season record before they sat him for the playoffs. They lost their offensive coordinator Josh Sweat to Arizona and Brandon Graham to retirement, but the defense is still stacked on all three levels. Only weird wrinkle? The NFC East hasn't had a repeat champ in 20 years. History says they're due for regression. The roster says, nah, we'll break the curse. 1. Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson owns the regular season. 70 wins, 24 losses, MVP caliber stuff. But the playoff record, 3-5, haunts him. This year, it has to change. Derrick Henry's in the backfield to keep defenses honest. The Ravens' defense was getting torched early last season. Gardner Minshew embarrassed them at home, so they went nuclear in the secondary. 7 former first-rounders plus Jair Alexander, Chidobe Awuzie, and Malaki Starks added to the mix. Added Mike Green to rush the passer, too. John Harbaugh's steady hand, Eric DeCosta's roster wizardry, it's all here. The Ravens aren't just good, they're loaded, hungry, and frankly out of excuses. If Lamar wants to silence the critics forever, 2025 is the year. Time to cash in.